Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Bienvenidos de nuevo a nuestro show, El Tiempo a la Verdad. So welcome back to our show, A Time for Truth. Esta noche vamos a empezar algo nuevo. Vamos a hacer el show en inglés. Today, because of our guest, we're going to do something new, and we're going to practice our English. So you got this Cuban doctor going to be speaking English, and here we go. We have a very interesting show. Tenemos un show muy interesante over something that all of us are complaining about in the country, stress, el estrés. And very interesting that in today's world, 8 out of 10 Americans are complaining about stress in their daily lives. And the common sources are the political climate in the country, the future of our nation, money, health, work, and obviously other factors during daily life. What do you do about it? ¿Qué podemos hacer? What are we going to do? Is there a solution? Well, appropriately enough to our show, Time for Truth, absolutely. And we're going to be presenting that today. We're very lucky to have with us tonight a very acclaimed and accomplished man, Mr. Jim Brewer. Engineer, if you put on the slides there, there's Jim with his lovely wife, and they would reside out in the Midwest. Jim was a resident of Maywood, and he led the East Pirates basketball team to the first state high school basketball championship back in 1969. And he established a tradition of pride and excellence amongst that team and school. Jim earned a scholarship to the University of Minnesota, where he won the All Big Ten, All-American honors, and he was selected to the U.S. Olympic basketball team for the 1972 Munich Olympic Games. Graduating from Minnesota with a bachelor's in sociology, he was selected in the second pick of the 1973 NBA draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers, as you just saw him playing there. He played 9 seasons in the NBA for the Cavaliers. There you go with the uniform. The Portland Trail Blazers, Los Angeles Lakers, where he won an NBA title as member of that 1982 Laker team. He went on to play several years in Italy, where his Cantu team won the EuroLeague championship. So we have quite a man with us today. We're very lucky to have him. Following his playing career, Jim embarked on a career very successful in coaching, serving as assistant for Northwestern University, and then returning to the NBA as assistant coach for the Los Angeles Clippers, the Toronto Raptors, director of player personnel for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and assistant coach for one of my favorite teams since I grew up in Connecticut, the Boston Celtics, before he retired from the game in 2007. Jim and his beautiful wife, Patsy, have 2 children, James Brewer II and Farah Baudelaire. He has 3 grandchildren, and they are all boys, Silas, Mason, and James III. And it's our honor to have NBA great Jim Brewer with us today. And engineer, if we can put him up on the screen and welcome him to New York and A Time for Truth.
Hello, Dr. Bernard. It's a real pleasure to be here with you this evening and to be able to contribute to your show and all the things that you've accomplished with working with the truth about drugs and trying to help people throughout New York and throughout the world.
Well, thank you for the accolades, but you know what? And I know you sent me a short version of your bio, so it's very impressive, working with people and especially professional athletes at the level you did. So I was wondering, first of all, if you could share with the viewers what you use to succeed, because obviously everyone wants to get to the NBA who plays basketball. So what was your philosophy? What was your mantra? What did you use?
Well, it's really, I got really involved in competitive sports at a very young age. I played Little League Baseball. I played when I was younger, I played football. So I played all the sports, and my whole thing was, my philosophy was to win and to work at my skill level in order to be able to contribute to that end, to that goal of winning every game. Sometimes as a young kid, 7, 8 years old, and you're playing, let's say, baseball or whatever the sport is, you could take it really hard upon yourself when things didn't go your way. But in sports, it was the one thing that I never got deterred at, and it kind of followed me in basketball. I never got deterred when I didn't, when I wasn't successful, because I guess the thing is I enjoyed playing basketball so much that I knew that the fun in the game was working at improving on the skill level, working at improving on what I could do in order to make other people better, in order to contribute to the team. The team was the thing. I guess you don't get that a lot. You get it in sports, but it's not as emphasized as it was when I was growing up. Nobody's bigger than a team, and anything that you can do to sacrifice to make the team better, then that's what you do. So that was my philosophy, was to work as hard as I could to improve on the gifts from the Almighty that I had, and then to be able to humbly contribute to the efforts of the team in order to win the game, or to win the championship, or just to win. I really liked the feeling of being able to say that we won, and so that, I think that was what drove me for those many years, in order to not only to play, but in order to coach. You have to kind of instill that in your players, and try to get them to buy into the fact that it's not always about them. It's not always going to go well for them individually, but you can still come out of there with a positive if the team gets the win. And I think that was one of the things I enjoyed the most, was the camaraderie that we enjoyed with the other players, each other's company, and being able to say that you were a part of a successful endeavor with those particular teams. And that's the thing that you think about the most, is just those friendships and those associations that you made throughout the time that you spent, competing.
Absolutely. You know what? I think in today's world that what we're going through as a country, if we apply that to a current scene and we play as a team, as a country, as a nation, as Mr. Brewer just said, that we can get a lot more done and get our country going in the right direction. I wanted to ask you something, because you had mentioned to me a lot about this Dianetics and how you utilize it. And what my first question is, I'm curious, as an athlete and eventually NBA great, how did you find out about Dianetics?
Well, that could be a long story, but I'll try to keep it a little shorter. um, I was in my 6th year of playing, and we had picked up a few new players, and so, and then I was fortunate enough for my first child to have been born. So that added a little more to my workload and to my concern, my focus. So as a result of that, back in the days when we played, we didn't get on the private jet, to go to the next city. We went commercial. So that added a little bit to the stress level. So now you're playing an opponent. You jump on the plane. You might be delayed. You're in the airport. Let's say there was no private cordon off area for us or anything like that. We traveled just like everybody else did. Some of us got to go first class if there was enough first class. But so you can imagine if you had 6 games in 7 days, which was not uncommon back then. Guys were under a lot of pressure to perform, and then a lot of times, you were going out. You had to go out to eat. There was you had to go out sometimes to visit friends during that time. So the stress level was a lot higher, and so the drinking and or the other extracurricular activities would start to pile on. So in that 6th season, I was in, I think it's called Scataway, New Jersey. The Nets were playing their games at Rutgers University. And I was kind of looking for something to explain to me why I was starting to feel all of this anxiety and all of this stress. And I was a drinker at that time, and so I went down to the bar, saw some of the other players from a couple other teams, because as we were leaving the next day, there was another team that was going to play the following night. And so I went down there. Wasn't really anything happening at the bar, so I go back to my room and I see this commercial. And the commercial featured a football player by the name of John Brody. And he was talking about this Dianetics. Well, I didn't know exactly.
This is a video that you sent us.
Yes.
Okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's play the video for the viewers, and then you can continue the story. Engineer,
Sure.
play that video that Mr. Brewer's talking about, where John Brody, his announcement.
Sometimes life can be difficult and you feel like something's holding you back. When it appeared my football career was over, I was introduced to Dianetics. It restored my abilities and allowed me to finish with my 3 best years. To win in life, obviously, confidence and self-respect are necessary, but where do you find them? I recommend the book Dianetics.
Read Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard, available wherever paperbacks are sold.
Very interesting. So that's what you saw on the TV that night.
That's exactly what I saw on the TV that night. And I said to myself, I'm going to get that book and I'm going to read it. I'm going to see what Mr. Brody is talking about. And so that's what I did. I get up the next morning, I search through the airport, and unfortunately for me, the bookstore is on the other side of the airport. So I have to go all the way to the other side of the airport, buy the book, and come back and catch the flight before I got left. So I did all of that, and for a while I just let the book sit there. I didn't really open it. And we were on a West Coast trip. And on that West Coast trip, I was able to read the book. And I got through the book, and it really opened my eyes to what was going on, not only with me, but what was going on, period, because it explained a lot about how the mind works and what the dynamics, if you would, of the mind are with regard to past incidents and things that had happened that kind of was influencing my present. So when John Brody says, you kind of feel like something's holding you back, so that was what I was thinking too. And I was thinking, well, what is it, And so in reading that, it really made me understand a lot better what the stress was and why it was there. And, my mom was a very voracious reader, so we kind of picked that up from her. So I loved reading through that and getting those explanations. And this is a pretty extensive book with some very precise language. So I had to kind of dig into it in order to fully understand. The concepts I understood right away, but there was, the smaller part segments of it, I was able to, over the years, read and really understand it. And I think it's something that a lot of people could use, and I think it's, it's only there to help. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the book.
You know what? Everything you're saying, especially on the level that you were playing as a professional athlete and going from airport to airport, and the stress level, not only of your life, but just of competing against top flight athletes who are also trying to win, just like you. To me, it seems like anyone could apply it. I mean, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you played, the other guys are trying to win too, and if you got injured or whatever, were there ways that you utilized the Dianetics that helped you?
Well, yeah, the ways I think the understanding. I was on a flight, and we used to play these different card games and different things, and so, I was kind of mapping out the analytical mind being on one matchstick, the reactive mind being in another matchstick, and how when you had pain, in the body, representing another matchstick, how that analytical mind kind of went out of the picture and the reactive mind kicked in. So I was sitting there and I was with these matchsticks trying to make sense of what I'd read. And one of the coaches was looking at me and he says, "What are you doing?" I says, "Man, I just, found out that this is the way, this thing works. And so if I'm injured or if I have any kind of pain, let's say you hurt your knee or you pull your hamstring, you know what I mean? So you have that reactive thing kind of kick in. Even if it's not fully kicked in, it kicks in because you got pain. And pain creates unconsciousness. You know what I mean? So you're not all the way there. A lot of people in the present day NBA game get on the players because they have time when they take off, but that's the sanest thing that they could do. Now, we had twice as much stress because we were taking flights that were commercial flights. We didn't have the jet. We didn't have all the top flight hotels, and some of the hotels we were staying in were, the third rate, fourth rate hotels, right? So we didn't have all of this service. They stay at the Ritz-Carlton. They stay at the Four Seasons, And so that was going on. And I don't think a lot of the guys understood why, the drug use went way up and guys would drink, If I could tell you a quick story, but that's what I got out of it. I got the understanding of it, and later I was able to experience the auditing, the whole therapeutic part of it, which kind of brought me out of it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I see one thing I was going to ask you, because I'm sure there's a lot of viewers out there and a lot of athletes out there watching this show and going to watch this show. we're going to have to continue more than one show here, half an hour. I see that. So what I was going to ask you, if you would be willing to take from your time and have another show, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, because that's the first thing I wanted to see for the viewers, because I know you have a lot more to say here that would be very important even for those mothers and fathers out there who have budding baseball players, football players, soccer players, that a guy like you, we only have about a half a minute. If I gave you a 15-second sound bite, what would you want to tell the people?
Well, I would say you have to investigate whatever it is for yourself and look at things not to be explained to you from someone else's viewpoint, because it's not going to be yours and it's not going to be something that you can really get with or not get with unless you do it for you.
Total sense. I so appreciate having you and bringing some of that sunny Chicago weather to New York. I feel warmer in here already. And I want the viewers out there to know that we're going to bring Mr. Brewer back, and we're going to have another episode on stress and the Dianetics that you can get at Dianetics.org. And have a very good weekend, and see you next time on A Time for Truth. Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank you.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet